Let's go ahead and show you how to mount the seat on your Vulcan. This thing comes out really cool and it's super easy, so follow these steps. Now you'll notice the first thing I did is I trimmed this plastic off a little bit around here. Whatever you do, don't cut the plastic on the top here, but you can trim the sides a little bit if you want. Kind of looks a little cleaner, but that's optional. And then the first thing we want to do is we want to grab this aluminum piece right here. Go ahead and grab that, and then we'll show you how to get started. Okay, go ahead and remove the screws and make sure that the counterboard, see those counterboards right there? Make sure they're on the top side. And then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and smear some silicone around on this. So go ahead and put silicone sealant on there. We supply that in the Fender kit, so hopefully you bought the Fender and it'll be in the kit. And then what we want to do is we want to take the bracket and we want to push down on this piece and we want to slide it underneath. Just slide that under the piece there. So we'll go under there. I've already got the piece in here. And then once you get that down under the piece here, just put the screws in there and snug them up. Just snug them up a little bit just to keep it from going anywhere. Put both screws in. And that'll pull that up in there and go ahead and let that dry overnight. That way that bar will be up in there and then you won't have to try to remove it later. So anyway, do that and then we'll show you how to do the first part of the seat. Okay, you notice I've snugged these up just a little bit. Just snug those up so that it holds that bar in place. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to grab this big bracket here. Now I've got the springs attached. Yours won't be on there, so ignore those for now. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the bracket right here on a towel. And what I want to do, I want to show you that we can actually install the lights while it's just sitting there like that. So I'll be right back. Now I left this bracket here just so I can show you that you can actually go ahead and do all your lights back here while it's just sitting in on the towel. It's kind of cool because then you can go ahead and just basically run the wires up to here, and then that'll be about the right length, and then once you get it finished you can just tuck the extra wire up in this area here. So anyway, you can go ahead and put your lights on right now if you want. It might be kind of handy versus trying to put them on while it's bolted to the bike. Okay, I've mounted this bridge to the bike. And these screws are provided in the kit. These are the screws and the washers. What it is, I slide that over the frame, and then you can go ahead and snug these up. I push forward on this as I tighten them up because I want this to be forward and as high up as possible so there's plenty of clearance under this spring right here. And then leave these bolts loose for now. Leave those loose and we'll show you how to put these springs on. Here's how we do the springs. It's really simple. Here's the spring. What you do is you just slide the Allen wrench through that little loop on the top. Slide I think it's a 3/16 Allen wrench if I remember right. Then you slide that through there. Then you set the screw on the Allen wrench. These are the ones supplied in the kit there in the back. Slide that down in there like that. And then just go ahead and slide the washer on through this slot like that. And then shove that up through the hole. And there you have it. The washer's on the inside. We're ready to go ahead and put that on the bike. We're going to go ahead and put that on the bike like that. Now we can go ahead and mount the springs to the bridge here. The nylock nut is on the underside. And then when you get those springs mounted on there like that, then we want to go ahead and center this plate on there. Just back and forth, either way. And then center that and then go ahead and snug these screws up. Now don't get too carried away with these because these are just 1/4 inch, so you just snug them up. You don't need to get too tight with them. Just, you know, give them a good little wrench there, but go ahead and snug those up, make sure everything's centered. And then you can go ahead and snug these up. Now the way I've done it, I've put the little squiggly, the funny little squiggly on the inside, on the left side like that. There's little funny things right there. I've done those on the left side. That just seems to be the way the seat fits on there the best. You can rotate those around if you want, but you know you want to just kind of get that so that the seat just fits over the top, and we'll cover that in just a second. So go ahead and snug this whole thing up. One thing you may want to consider when before you put this main seat piece on is I've run a little wire coming from the lead here. I've run a wire out through the side of the bike, so I can hook it to my battery tender. They make all kinds of battery tender wires, and you can put them on your wires here, hang them out the side here. That way when you have to charge the bike, It's simple and real easy, and you just stick the charger on there. We do leave an opening in the cover, so you could put some little clips on there to charge it, but it's much nicer to have the wire hanging out for the battery tender. And then you'll notice I've got all my wires tucked in here. That's from a previously watching the wiring video. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to finish this up. Okay, go ahead and remove your gas tank bolt and replace it with the one that we've given you in the kit. It's a little more threads on it. It's a little longer, so go ahead and screw that in there. I'm not going to screw that too far. And then, okay, grab this piece in your kit. This is the last piece of your seat mounting kit. This is not painted, so this will be a little easier for you to see when I mount it on there. So anyway, the way that goes, that little fork just folds right in there like that. Slides up in there. Then it lays on the bike like that. I'll go ahead and show you how to fasten this to the motorcycle. I've removed this piece so you can see this better, but what I want you to do is just center this on the gas tank here so you have the same gap, and then go ahead and just snug these up. Now remember, these are in aluminum, so you don't need to get too carried away. Just snug them up. You know, you can torque them, but don't get too carried away, and then I'll show you how to finish this up. Now we want to finish this little bracket here. Now what you do is you just leave these two mounting screws a little bit loose so that slides back and forth. And what I want you to do is just push down on this and slide it forward until this surface right here just fits flat on that big washer right there. So just slide that with the pressure pushing down here until that just fits flat on there, like that. Then you want to maybe make sure that's straight to that little cut there too. And then go ahead and just snug those up. Making sure this is still flat. Then you can go ahead and snug those up a little bit, and then we'll tighten this one. Now I've snugged these up, and then I've gone ahead and snugged the bolt up on the gas tank. Yours might look a little different. I'm going to try to get a flange bolt for this. So anyway, you don't need to get too carried away with that one either, but snug that up, these two. And then once we know that these are where we are, we can go ahead and tighten these up quite a bit, because we're not going to ever take these off again. These should stay, and we should never have to release those again. Now I'm going to show you quickly how to remove this before we go any further. So down the road, if you want to get to your wiring, you can remove it. So I'll show you how to do that real fast. Okay, down the road, if you have to remove your battery or get to your wiring, it's real simple. You just remove these two screws, loosen this one, and then this whole thing will just lift off. Then you can go ahead and put it back the same way. Go ahead and snug these up, snug that up, and you're ready to go again. Before we mount our seat, we want to wire tie this piece of plastic under here, and we want to wire tie it up tight against this piece of metal here. So what I do is I put my hands under there and I pull really hard on these wire ties to suck that plastic up against that metal there. So go ahead and do both sides. Like I say, push hard, suck those up. Get that as close as you can, then it'll look real finished. And then you go ahead and wire tie the wires coming out of your signal lights too. There's two little holes right here. That allows you to wire tie the wires from the lights too. So that's kind of a cool little feature there we did for you. And then you can go ahead and trim these off, obviously. Let's go ahead and mount the seat on this bike. Okay, this is the one I chose for this bike. And if you'll notice on the bottom, you've got this big bracket here. This will be tight, so you don't need to ever change that. We tighten that for you. And then on this front bracket, this is adjustable. Now, after I've mounted this, I'm going to show you how to adjust this and mount it to your bike. This is about where mine ended up, a little bit, back from the bolt there. And then once you get this all set, you can snug these up good and tight, because there's some steel nuts on the inside of the seat. So don't be afraid to snug those up nice and tight. And those star washers stay on the bottom. That keeps that from sliding on there. So I'm going to show you how to adjust this on the bike. Okay, this is not set in stone. If the springs look a little wide, you can put them on the outside of this bracket. I put them on the inside of both sides, but you don't have to. It just depends on how it all lines up on this. And then the springs do vary a little bit from the factory where we order them from, so they may vary a little bit. But anyway, what I've done is I put the screw through here, and then I've got the nut and the washer on the spring side. You need that washer to close the gap on that big hole in the spring. And then the nylock nut on the inside. Now go ahead and mount your seat back here, but leave these just a little bit loose for now, because we want to adjust the front. So we'll be right back. Okay, the tab on the front here goes on the inside of the bracket that's on the bottom. So these, the tabs on the seat go inside on these. And then if you'll notice that the holes line up quite well when I lay the front of the seat down. With the spring straight up and down, you want to adjust this so that these holes line up. Like I say, these springs can tilt a little bit. I like to have them straight up and down. And then to adjust that, you can go ahead and lift that up and tighten, or loosen and tighten this this bracket. But anyway, adjust that to where the holes line up, and then we'll go ahead and put the bolt through, and all will be finished. Hang on though, because I want to show you one important point on this. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put the bolt through the brackets here. Now, one thing I noticed is that the bolt goes through here, but it won't go any further. It won't line up with the hole on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bolt out. I'm going to loosen these screws, loosen these two screws, and then that one just a little bit, so that that'll allow this bracket to rotate back and forth a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll put that down like that again, and I'll adjust that so that that bolt will go through there. You can adjust that so the bolt will go through. Okay, and there you have it. The seat is mounted. I've tightened these screws up down in here. Now what I want to do is I want to be sure and leave that one a little bit loose, because this seat has to be able to pivot up and down like this. So leave that one loose, and this has to be able to move like that. And then you can go ahead and snug up the rear ones. They're okay. You can tighten those. And then when you get finished, just do me a favor and put just a little bit of oil on both sides. That way it'll make sure that that pivots and that keeps stays loose there, because that's got a pivot on there. Otherwise it'll break the tabs. So there you have it. That's a good looking seat.